This story comes from Jacqueline, a young woman from Liverpool, who swears that what she saw inside her old high school that night was real. What started as a nostalgic visit quickly turned into something she'll never forget. Have you ever experienced something like this? Something strange you still can't explain? Tell us your story in the comments below, because the next video might just be based on your experience. My name's Jacqueline. I'm 20 years old, born and raised just outside Liverpool. What I'm about to say has left me shaken in a way I can't easily explain. I'm not someone who jumps at shadows or believes every ghost story on the internet. I'm the sort of person who needs to see something with my own eyes before I'll even think about calling it strange. But a few nights ago, something happened that I still can't make sense of. It's been playing on repeat in my head ever since, and I keep wishing I could forget it. I've got two closest friends in the world, Mason and Emily. We've known each other since we were about 11, back when we all started at the same small school in our quiet little town. The three of us have always been inseparable. We stuck together through all the teenage nonsense, through heartbreaks and bad grades and long summers spent sneaking into places we weren't supposed to be. Our school sits almost on its own, a single huge brick building surrounded by open fields. From the main road, it looks like something dropped in the middle of nowhere, just farmland, a few patches of woods, and a long gravel driveway leading to the car park. When the school year ends, it's left completely empty. The caretakers come round sometimes, but during the summer it's usually dead quiet. I remember driving past it from time to time on my way to work. Every so often I'd see a family at the little playground on the primary school side, or maybe someone jogging around the track, but mostly it just sat there, a giant, sleeping building with dark windows and overgrown hedges. Mason, Emily and I had all graduated a couple of years ago. We'd gone our separate ways with work but still saw each other all the time. That night started off the same as 100 others. It was about 10 in the evening, and the three of us were parked in Mason's car at the local petrol station, eating crisps and drinking cheap coffee, talking about nothing. The forecourt was nearly empty, just a few trucks humming at the diesel pumps and the faint smell of petrol in the warm air. Mason's the one with the wild ideas. He's quiet most of the time, but he's always the first to suggest something that sounds a bit daft. Emily and I tend to go along with whatever he says, even when we know we probably shouldn't. That night he said, "Why don't we go for a drive down the back roads? See what's out there." It was a warm August evening, still and dark, with the sort of quiet you only get out in the countryside. We had music on low, windows half open, and we just drove. We passed old houses that looked like they'd been empty for decades, peeling paint, roofs caved in, yards full of nettles. We slowed down to look at them, laughing and imagining what they might have looked like once. Emily's got this fascination with old Victorian homes, always talking about how she'd decorate one if she ever had the money. We wandered through country lanes and past the small cemetery at the edge of town. The headlights caught the stones like teeth in the darkness. There's something peaceful about graveyards at night, at least for us. None of us scare easily. Mason's seen every horror film under the sun and never so much as flinched. Emily's the same, calm, steady, not easily rattled. I suppose that's part of why we get on so well. After maybe half an hour, we found ourselves back near town. We were talking about heading home when Emily said, "Let's stop by the school, for old time's sake." At first I thought she was joking, but Mason turned the car without a word. The long drive up to the school looked exactly as it always had. The same cracked tarmac, the same flickering security light near the entrance. The place was silent. The air felt heavier there, as if the night itself had settled around the building. We pulled into the empty car park and got out. The gravel crunched under our boots. I remember the smell, that faint, dusty scent of old brick and mown grass. The only sounds were insects and the faint hum of the motorway miles away. We started walking round the side of the building, talking quietly. It felt strange to be there again after so long, like visiting a ghost of your own past. Every doorway and window reminded me of something. Detentions, assemblies, the laughter in the corridors, the boredom. We didn't love that place when we were there, but standing outside it now, it felt oddly nostalgic. Emily and I wandered toward the middle section, where the cafeteria windows stretched in a long row. The glass reflected our shapes and the faint light from the sky. Inside, everything looked as I remembered. The tables stacked in one corner, chairs piled on top of each other, walls plastered with faded posters about healthy eating and anti-bullying campaigns. The light from the emergency exit signs cast a dull green glow across the floor. We were crouched there, peering through the window, when something shifted inside. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, maybe my eyes adjusting to the dark. But then I saw it clearly. Near the far wall stood a figure, still motionless, covered from head to toe in a dark red cloak. The hood was pulled over their head, and their arms were stretched straight out to the sides, palms facing down. I remember my heart stopping for a second, my breath caught in my throat. It wasn't the color or the movement, it was the stillness that got me. The way they stood, as if frozen mid-ritual. "Emily," I whispered, nudging her shoulder. She turned her head slightly, confusion on her face until her eyes found what I was looking at. Her expression changed instantly, confusion giving way to dread. "What the hell is that?" she whispered back. We both stayed completely still, barely breathing. The figure didn't move. The hood covered the face entirely, so there was no way to tell if they were looking at us. Then, from somewhere down the side of the building, we heard Mason shout. His voice was urgent, almost panicked, but we couldn't make out the words. Footsteps pounded on the pavement, getting closer fast. Emily and I straightened up, startled. The second we did, the figure inside suddenly wasn't where it had been. It was closer, right at the window. Emily screamed, a sound so raw and sharp, it felt like it cut through the air. I looked up just in time to see the hood pressed against the glass. The head was tilted down, the face hidden, the fabric brushing the pane. I could see the faint outline of a hand against the window, pale and still. For a moment, I froze. Then everything in me screamed, "Run!" Emily grabbed my arm so hard it hurt, dragging me backward. My boots caught on the hem of my dress as we stumbled and ran, the sound of our footsteps echoing off the brick. Mason came round the corner, wide-eyed, his phone torch still on. "Get in the car," he yelled. We didn't need telling twice. We threw ourselves into the car, doors slamming, hearts racing. Emily was crying, shaking uncontrollably. Mason jammed the keys in and reversed so fast the tires squealed, the car fishtailing slightly before he straightened it and sped out of the car park. None of us spoke for a moment. The only sounds were the engine and Emily's sobs. I stared out the window, half expecting to see someone following us down the long drive, but there was nothing. After a minute or two, Mason finally spoke, his voice low and uneven. "There were 3 of them," he said. Emily stopped crying for a moment. "What?" He swallowed hard, knuckles white on the steering wheel. 3 people, all in red cloaks, standing against the wall, facing it. I thought they were mannequins or something until one of them moved. My stomach turned over. I felt lightheaded, like I might be sick. I told them we had to call the police. "If someone's broken in, they need to know," I said. But both of them shook their heads. Mason said it'd look bad. 3 young people trespassing around a closed school in the middle of the night, dressed all in black. No one would take us seriously. Emily muttered something about not wanting trouble, about people in our town thinking we were strange enough already. We drove back to her flat, still arguing quietly about what we should do. By the time we got there, it was nearly midnight. None of us wanted to go home alone, so we decided to stay together. We sat in her living room for hours, replaying everything again and again. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that red hood pressed against the glass. At some point, Mason went quiet, staring into space. "You know what's weird?" he said after a long pause, "is that when I shone the light on them, they didn't even flinch. Not one of them turned around, like they didn't care that someone was watching." Emily shuddered. "Or they wanted us to see. No one slept that night." We tried to laugh it off, to convince ourselves it was some kind of prank. Maybe drama students rehearsing something, or people from the nearby village messing around. But deep down, none of us believed that. The next day I told my parents. I tried to explain every detail, but they just gave each other that look parents give when they think their kid's overreacting. My dad said, "Probably some kids fooling about. Don't go back there and you'll be fine." My mum told me not to worry, that it was probably a misunderstanding, but I knew what I saw. I can still see it now. The way the light caught that red fabric, the perfect stillness of their body. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I drove past the school once during daylight just to convince myself there was a logical explanation. Everything looked perfectly normal. No broken windows, no signs of forced entry. I parked for a moment, staring at those cafeteria windows, but I couldn't bring myself to get out of the car. I haven't been back since. Sometimes late at night when I'm lying awake, I think about what they were doing there. Why the school? Why those cloaks? Part of me wonders if they'd been there before, waiting for someone to see them. I keep telling myself it doesn't matter, that we got lucky that we left when we did. But every now and then, when I drive through town and see the school silhouette in the distance, I feel that same chill crawl up my spine. The memory of a red-hooded figure standing perfectly still behind the glass, watching. And even now I can't shake the feeling that whatever they were doing that night, it wasn't finished. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Mr. Nightmare for more true horror stories. And if you've ever experienced something strange yourself, share it in the comments below. The next video could be your story.